Welcome back to the Sports Complex on a Friday afternoon. It's going to be a good one today. My man, Digital Wizard, Jacob Stander back in the studio with us having a fun old Friday afternoon show. We're going to get into more Texas versus Baylor talk. We will get into some NFL predictions, get you ready for the week of NFL games. We'll, of course, go into some more college football. We're starting to get into some more good games. We're getting into conference play. The week 3, that was not good games. We're done with that. We got some big college football games. And, of course, your text all show long, 512-337-3776, 512-337-3776. That's text line. You guys drive the show. Send in what you want to talk about. Send in our question. We ask you the big fat poll. All that good stuff will be coming up on the show today. Jacob, how you doing today, brother?
Man, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
You know, it's Friday. We're off a little bit early. We're off at 6:30 for Rangers. I know there's no high school football, no Vandergrift. I mean, there's high school football happening. Clearly, Vandergrift is off this week, so we will not be carrying high school football tonight, but we will be carrying the Texas Rangers game. Huge series starting off against the Mariners tonight. As an Astros fan, you're kind of hoping they just beat each other up.
Oh, yeah. Every game coming out of that division right now is very stressful.
Yeah, and the Astros are playing a below 500 team, which means they'll probably lose 2 in the series and win game 3.
And they're not giving you that performance yet that gives you confidence they're going to snap out of it.
Yeah. No, they have not. I mean, they looked a little bit better, like to get in the walk-off on Wednesday afternoon. You went, okay, we got a walk-off maybe, but it was Dubon who got the walk-off, so it wasn't like one of your main guys.
Yeah.
It's a pinch hitter, yeah. So who knows, but it's going to be a very good. It's going to be a good weekend of sports.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a good weekend of sports. A lot of great games happening tomorrow. I believe I'm going to be out at the pregame show out at Doc's backyard down in Sunset Valley off of Brody and 71 down there. That'll be 4 to 6 tomorrow afternoon. Get you ready for the Texas game. And, of course, we'll be watching. I'm sure they'll have all the TVs on, so we'll have the Colorado game on. We'll have that Notre Dame game on. The Ohio State-Notre Dame game. There's going to
be a lot to pay attention to.
The Alabama-Ole Miss game.
Ooh, that became interesting over the last couple of weeks.
That Alabama-Ole Miss game is going to be big. We'll talk about it in a minute. But that is Texas implications in that game as well.
Oh.
That is Texas implications because if Alabama loses, that win we had doesn't look as good, right?
Yeah, all of a sudden that resume is getting dirtied up a little bit.
So we will see. Let's get into some talk about Texas and versus Baylor, though, as we get back into it. You're going to have to get into this is where Texas is going to have to start to lean on the fact that this is a team led by veterans. This is a team led by guys who have been in the locker room. They are guys that have wanted to – that basically there's several guys, especially on this offense, who are, planning to be their last year in school.
Yeah.
And you look at even on defense. So Jalen Ford, Jahdae Barron, Jaron Thomas, and then we go on that side, and then we can look on the other side on the offense. And you say Quinn Ewers, J.T. Sanders, Jay Witt, A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, all planning to be gone at the end of this season. These guys this is where you have to start getting down and getting that veteran leadership ready to go against a Baylor team that looks like they're down, but we know Texas in the past has played down to their opponent. So a lot of this game is, can you get your energy up? Can you continue to keep the pace that you've been playing with so far in non-conference play? Get it into Big 12 play. No, it's a long season, but 4 quarters, can Texas not start off slow this week? And I mean, that for me is going to be really kind of the entire point of this game is, can you get early down success? Can you get early success in the game? Can you get your veteran leaders to get this team pumped up? Even if your first drive or two doesn't work out as well, are you going to be able to get it up there? And I think, we talk about Baylor and we talk about what that team is kind of built around. And even though the offense hasn't looked great, you're going up against a backup quarterback in Sawyer Robertson. The offense just hasn't been clicking really. The defense is still a Dave Aranda defense. Sark talked yesterday about having a defensive head coach. And, he's coached with 2 of the best, Pete Carroll and Nick Saban. So he knows kind of how those defenses work. Here's Sark talking about the defensive head coaches and kind of knowing what you're walking into. If you're this Texas offense, if you're Quinn Ewers, these are the conversations you need to start having.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I've only I've only ever worked for defensive head coaches, so having worked for Coach Carroll, having worked for Nick Saban, having worked for Dan Quinn in Atlanta. And so it is interesting to work for a defensive head coach and to hear their mindset on different things, and a great deal of respect for the defensive coaches that are cerebral thinkers, but yet still get their players to play hard and to play that style. And Coach Aranda definitely does that. It's a heck of a challenge. We've gone against each other in the past when he was at LSU, and then obviously the last couple of years. So it's a great challenge, but no different. I don't take stuff like that personally. It's more about, am I doing everything in my power to help our team be successful, right? And so as much as it is, I'm calling the plays, but I'm calling the plays with the best interests of our team. And I think back to last year's game. I think we ran the ball in the fourth quarter 22 straight times. And so you do what you think is best for the team to ultimately try to win the game.
And so this is where he goes, basically, I know what we're doing in our team where people think that I'm offensive guy, so I'm going to leave my defense out there. Dave Aranda knows what he's doing. He's going to try and get his offense in a position to help this defense win the game. Both coaches are working the same. But you know going into this, Dave Aranda's got this defense. If he feels he can get Texas, the question is, are they going to go out? We all figure they're going to play the Dave Aranda defense. Yeah. They're going to play that style, which Texas can attack. Are they going to go full on that? Or maybe do they try and figure out and work some games in where they put 3 high, or where they kind of work some other schemes against Texas to try and confuse Quinn Ewers? I think it's a big game for Quinn Ewers to see if he can get back on track after a slow Wyoming game.
I think he needs it too. I think he absolutely has to get back on track after a slow start in Wyoming, but I'm legitimately nervous for how the first 2 quarters of this game looks, because this is the defense Rod's been warning us about. This is the blueprint that he's been talking about, where you can get pressure on Texas. Yeah,
and you're going to be able to get pressure. I think that Texas still has enough, skill positions right now that I'm not as worried about. I'm more worried about Quinn Ewers finding the guys. I think once he's able to find them, if he's able to read the defense right, then we're okay. The question is, can they disguise enough things to confuse Texas and confuse Quinn Ewers to where he starts to doubt it, hold the ball too long, maybe not make the right pass. I don't know about turnovers. I played this yesterday, but I'm playing it again today, about turnovers, and where it's a big piece for Texas so far this year is basically the major turnover we have is that Jaden Blue touchdown turnover, that Jaden Blue fumble, which all it really resulted in was Texas, not scoring another touchdown or 2 touchdowns, because Wyoming then got the ball and just kind of ran out the clock, just trying to get anything done. But the emphasizing the turnovers on both ways, I think, in this game, turnovers are going to be a huge part. That in this Dave Aranda defense, can Quinn Ewers be smart with it, still get it to the wide receivers that he needs to get it to, can start getting him in a rhythm enough and not put him out too much to dry? I think he'll be able to go over the top on him. I think if you're able to start building up, I think you run the ball early, and then when guys start to creep up, you get man coverage. Dave Aranda is probably going to stick out more. He may let you get some man. He's not going to be able to guard Xavier Worthy, JT Sanders, and A.D. Mitchell going downfield at points.
No, he's not. But those plays take time to develop.
They do. I'm not as worried about the O-line and the D-line. I don't know if Baylor has the size. I know offensive line, they don't have the size. D-line, I'm not 100% sure. I think they've got some good players, but I don't know if they have the size.
I think it's more based in confusion, though.
It is. It is based, but I mean, there's still a point of if you're looking at this Texas line as what was in Rice, where they just did not seem to be on the same page at all, versus what we've seen the next 2 weeks, where they've, I think there was maybe 2 plays where, they really just didn't seem to pick something up in the Wyoming game. But for the most part, they picked up what they needed to pick up, and Quinn was able to get the ball out.
Yeah.
Unless you go too far into the progressions, and you're on progression 4 or 5, and on those deep balls, you're not necessarily, getting through progressions.
No.
You're just waiting for the play. But, you'll know early enough if you're getting man coverage, and you can kind of check down. If you go, no, look, they got a safety over the top there, I'm not throwing that way. Right. And if you got one there, and then you got someone over the middle, and hopefully you got a Jaywood over the middle or somebody like that, or, you got a running back that seeps out, and you can hope Jonathan Brooks catches the ball, and you go that way. I think there's a lot to be said about the turnovers on both sides of this. Here's Sark talking about emphasizing turnovers and where this could be and this is going to be big all season long, that Texas has had issues in the past holding on to the football in some key moments. And I don't know if they're good enough to get away with it every week. I think this week you would probably get away with one. You definitely don't want to have 2 or 3 because then,
Then we start getting into some scary,
And that's
3-point
when-
game territory.
and that's when Sark starts to throw the ball more and more to try and make up for the fact
Start
that he's
correct
behind.
the mistake.
Well, and it's because you get behind schedule, and Sark has not really been behind schedule this season. He hasn't had the results he wanted, but they're still getting what they're doing. The defense is adjusting to what they're doing. They're being able to switch, build the run. They're being able to build the deep ball. Those, and against Wyoming, it was just, well, they're just going to keep sitting back and we'll just start running the ball.
Yeah.
So we get to the point where we need to get to anywhere where we can dominate one facet of the offensive game, and that's what we want to get to. I think with Baylor, you're kind of waiting. You want to see if they are able to get Texas slowing down the script where now you're not getting that run game started. They're able to play, a little bit more natural coverage on the run game and stop the run game from, averaging more than 3 yards a carry. And then also play good enough in the defense where you're disguising things so you can't necessarily see downfield and you don't know and you're not getting plays out. Yeah, that'll put the behind and it'll make Sark want to throw the ball more. Because as soon as that running game, I think, slows down at all, we may see the old Sark tendencies and the Coach Steven and
Start
all
to
that.
get a little nervous.
But here's Sark talking about emphasizing turnovers yesterday.
Well, I think we've emphasized it in a way to where we've worked a lot of drills. And we do a lot of that drill work even in season before every practice. Tuesday and Wednesday practice, we do a turnover circuit, offense versus defense, where we're punching, grabbing at the ball. On Thursday's practice, the defense does their turnover circuit while the offense is getting warmed up. And so, the emphasis on trying to do it. And then B, celebrating the heck out of it. I borderline throwing a pool party in the middle of practice for a turnover. I just try to make it such a big deal when we create that turnover. And then offensively, not trying to make anybody feel bad, but the message is simple. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy Monday morning when I show good, bad, and ugly, and you're that guy turning that ball over or potentially turning the ball over where that ball's getting punched loose. So we've placed a huge emphasis on it. So far, so good. I think we can be better, especially at protecting the ball. I think we can be better at punching the ball out and creating more fumbles. We're getting interceptions, but I think we can create more fumbles. And so we're not settling where we're at. We're trying to continually improve upon it.
And that's something you're going to be going up against a backup quarterback.
Yep.
And creating turnovers. So we know on offense, we don't want Quinn Ewers to throw the ball too much. Of course, you want your running backs to be able to hold on to the ball. But on defense, that trying to create turnovers. Now, when you say you're going up against a guy, Sawyer Robertson, who's actually had his average pass length, and he's been throwing it downfield.
No, he throws it.
And so if you know a guy's going to be chunking it, what can Pete Kwiatkowski draw up? And if he's going to be able to start drawing up some plays to get, we know Jaron Thompson can be a ball hawk. We also know he can get blown past.
Yeah.
So we know his two sides is, if you throw that ball and it's a 15, 16-yard pass, he has a pretty good shot to pick that ball off. But if you go kind of over the top of him and run a fly route, he's maybe doesn't have the speed to get there all the time. So what side are we going to see in this Baylor game? I'd like to see a little bit more I want to see what this Sawyer Robertson does early in the game. To see if he's able to kind of go at Texas and throw the ball downfield, if they're able to get something going against this Texas defense. The run game's been pretty good. Run defense has been pretty good for Texas so far. They, of course, allow the big play against Wyoming, but other than that, they've been able to pretty much stay in front of guys. And I think Anthony Hill and some other guys got in a little trouble for overcommitting at points and
not filling the right gap, not plugging it.
And just the getting overexcited of, hey man, we're playing a team that we think we can handle, so we'll
right.
I'll go crazy. And like, man, 4 of you cannot all go rogue.
Time to go make a highlight.
Yeah. One of you guys can. So the communication's going to be there. Sark talked about that some too, that the communication's looking good in practice this week. Here's Sark talking about Sawyer Robertson and, what they have to look forward to of playing a backup quarterback this week.
Well, I think the athleticism for sure, his ability to create outside the pocket. The other challenge is a little bit of the unknown, right? I mean, he hasn't played a ton of football that way. And so you don't have all the information that you'd like. But, he's a competitive guy. You remember him and recruiting him coming out of high school. And he's a guy that I felt like probably played his best football in the second half last week. And so maybe finding his stride a little bit more. So at the end of the day, I think playing Baylor, you got to do a great job stopping the run. You got to make sure you defend the play action pass. And then when you cover it right, you got to make sure that he doesn't have the ability to use his legs to extend plays, whether that's running it or extending plays to find throws off schedule.
And so that's where it comes down to. If you're able to contain him early downs, get them, make sure the third and longs.
Sure.
And then in those third and longs, contain. Don't allow that happened too much last year. It hasn't been that bad. I think Milroe got a couple out on him.
Yeah.
That's also an Alabama team.
And that's what he wants to do. That's what Milroe wants to get out and
but
do.
I think Robertson's going to want to do that too. You see that and you say, all right, it's third and long. If I don't get the read pretty early in there that I've got a pass I can make, let me see if I can get to the outside.
I'm looking for my gap in the pass rush.
Yeah, and maybe if I do the gap, then someone will drop off coverage and I'll be able to find a guy too.
Right.
I think that'll be something that comes in. I think Texas can do all these things. Now, we did the poll yesterday and we were trying to find the number that Texas needs to win by, or the Texans need to score. The offense needs to score to make you feel comfortable in the offense. And the number's not that high. The reality of what people wanted was like 35-40. So you just want to feel, okay, you're going up against Dave Aranda. If you can put up 35-40, which I think is believable, I think 30 is pretty believable for this Texas team. Can you hold Baylor to under 20? Yeah.
Yeah, I think without issue. And I think you're exactly right. I think 30-35, I think you feel good. Not great, but you feel good.
Yeah, once you get over 40, you start to feel real good about it. And especially if,
you
if
get
Quinn starts
50,
to throw the ball.
Like, okay, we're on schedule.
No, well, that's if you're doing 50, that means Quinn Ewers is starting to chunk it. And I'll actually play this clip too of start talking about rotating wide receivers, which is, we talked earlier that this is a veteran run team. But when you talk about who's throwing the ball and who is catching the ball, that pretty much all those guys are going to be gone next year.
That's such a great point.
That you say, all right, everybody's going good, but you're trying to build a team and growing up. And if you say Xavier Worthy, JT Sanders, A.D. Mitchell, Jordan Whittington, and Quinn Ewers could all be in the draft next year.
Yeah.
That kind of leaves you where no one else is even getting playing time right now. Isaiah Noor is going to be gone as well. So now you're saying Jonte Cook, Ryan Niblett, Casey Kane, those guys. Sark talked yesterday kind of, you haven't been able to get ahead of a team enough to really start to rotate. You've had to have your guys in the game for a while. And like we talked on the show the other day and people, asking about why Jay Witt's not getting as many passes. And it's like, well, Jay Witt's going to be in all these games because he's a great blocker.
Yeah.
And he can do so many other things so well.
He just understands football.
Yeah. His football IQ is through the roof. So, those guys he wants to have in the game, he trusts those guys. Here start talking about hoping to, maybe early in this Big 12, and, maybe this is one of those games against Baylor. You don't figure you're going to blow out Kansas. You don't figure you're going to blow out Oklahoma.
No.
I mean, I know we did last year, everybody. It is, it's 5-19 and OU still sucks. But, you have to worry about it. Here start talking about getting some of the wide receivers in. And in reality, you'd like to see some of these guys get a little bit of playing time. And we'll play something about hostile environment. Get some of them on playing time. They didn't get the playing time in Alabama, so they didn't know that kind of environment.
Exactly. That's why they're here.
But you need to get them the playing time in some of these environments where people are mad at them. And, whatever happens, people are cheering for you to drop passes and people are cheering for you to fail. They need to get some. Here's start talking about rotating wide receivers.
I think ultimately, anytime you start rotating receivers, you got to ask yourself, is that what's in the best interest of our team to be successful in the moment? And so the moment I take Xavier off the field or A.D. Mitchell off the field or Jordan Whittington off the field, is that in the best interest? I would like to rotate guys more. Last week's game was really difficult. You only run 52 snaps in the game and you're in a tight ball game, and you want to make sure that the guys that are running those routes are you have a utmost confidence in to go do it. And not that those other guys we don't. I just have such a knowledge base of those other guys that they're able to do it. And so I'm hopeful we'll be able to get to a little bit more of a rotation here moving forward because I do think Jonte is close and ready to kind of burst on the scene. DeAndre Moore's kind of gotten him his space to where we feel comfortable there with him. We've already mentioned Nair. And we know Casey Kane is kind of a Swiss Army knife and can go in there and play multiple positions. So inevitably every game takes on a life of its own, and we try to do what's in the best interest of the team to be successful.
And that's it. You want to be successful this year. This is a huge year for Sark. He understands that as much as you need to prepare for next year, you need to handle all these games. Texas does need to start trying to find a game or two that they can pull away from a little bit and have a little bit more faith in putting some other guys out there. Sark talked about the hostile environment too, and that's what you're going into now. We're in Big 12 play. Now, you went to Bryant-Denny Stadium, which is a huge stadium, and you had 100,000 people that hated your guts. And part of that was you did have some Texas fans there. I know that Alabama fans were pissed off at how many people sold their tickets, but you still had more people that are bigger than most stadiums here in the Big 12. Even with Texas taking up 30,000 seats, you still had more seats than a lot of these stadiums did. So here's Sark talking about this is where Texas' mind needs to be for all the road games left in this Big 12 conference play.
I think the first part is this. I'm not surprised. I mean, and I don't think you should be surprised, right? I mean, I've referenced this all the way back to media days, right? Everywhere we go this year, everybody's going to try to take one more shot at Texas. Okay, so we can sit here and be a punching bag and just take it, or we can go attack people and make sure that they know they were in a fight too Saturday night. And that's our mentality going into this game. And so I don't think our players will be surprised by the environment. We're not going to be surprised as coaches. Our fans shouldn't be surprised by it. I do think going to Tuscaloosa is beneficial because I think it showed to our guys what we're capable of going and doing on the road in arguably the toughest place in the country to go play. So we should gain some confidence from that. But the biggest thing that I think we gained coming out of that game is nobody got enamored with the crowd. Nobody got enamored with the talking from their fans. We were focused on what we needed to do, and we stayed really tight. We were enamored with everything that we had to try to go get done in that game. We stayed together. We picked each other up when adversity struck, and we responded to that adversity when it presented itself. And so we're going to get faced with adversity Saturday night as well. And I think the key to the drill is how we respond to that adversity collectively. And for that to happen collectively, we've got to do a good job picking each other up, and not just rely on the player to respond on his own. Great example was Jaron Thompson at Alabama. He gives up that touchdown pass for them to take the lead. And his next play on the field, he gets an interception with a great read, getting out underneath a curl route. So hopefully that's the responses that we get Saturday night when we get faced with some adversity.
So that's what you want to see on Saturday. You want to see this team that doesn't really seem to care, that it can embrace it. We know the John Wick mentality.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see. You want to see them be able to pull out. I love on the text, we got mad at Herman for benching key players. And I'm not saying he bench them in key roles. That's why you want to be able to build out a lead enough to get them some playing time.
Right. That's the whole point, is against Rice and Wyoming, we should have been able to get some playing time for guys that will lead the team next year on an all SEC schedule.
Yeah. You'd like to be able to get them into the game, and especially on the road games. If you can get a road game where those guys just get two series. If you get two series at the end of the game, and I know it's throwaway time, but it's still, you're out there on the field and you just have a little bit more. So with that next year, when you are starting the game, and Sark may go out and get another transfer or may get somebody else in. But when you're out there starting the game, you need to be able to have some experience. And Baylor is one of the games where you'd like to be able to see Texas pull away a little bit. And part of that goes into scoring early as well, and not waiting until the third quarter, fourth quarter to start to blow it out. Whereas if Texas had a 28-point lead or 21-point lead going into the half, then some of those guys might have got in.
Yeah. No,
but you had to make that run late, so you want to make that run a little bit earlier.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like the Chiefs in the NFL. They have a couple blowouts a year, but most of the time against the spread, they usually lose because they're one of those teams that'll sleepwalk their way through the first half. And Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are so good together, they know they can just have a monster second half and win the football game. And that kind of feels like that kind of mentality versus Rice and versus Wyoming.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Let's get to Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the day.
Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the day on the Horn.
Y'all were awesome yesterday when we asked you what number you wanted to see, how many points you wanted to see out of this offense to feel good about it going out of the Baylor game. you guys gave. Some of y'all were up there in the 70s, though, which seems a little crazy.
That's awesome.
But 512-337-3776. 512-337-3776 is the text line. Go ahead and text us in. Here's a poll question for today. Who is the most important player for Texas versus Baylor? So which Texas player is most important for this Texas team? I think the easy answer is Quinn.
Okay.
I think that's the easy answer pretty much every week. But you may say it's somebody on defense. It may be a Kelvin Banks or a Jake Majors on the offensive line to be able to help just, pick out and read what's happening and get the offensive line set up. It may be someone in the secondary, a Jahdae Barron, to try and make sure, Jaron Thompson trying to line up the defenses and see what's happening, not let Sawyer Robinson go over the top of you.
Right.
Maybe someone on the D-line like a Devondre Sweat that you don't want to see the running game for Baylor go too much. It may be Jonathan Brooks, C.J. Baxter. We know Baylor, you can run the ball on Baylor. Other teams have done it. You can do it. So you should be able to run the ball. Well, is it one of them? Got to have out there and have another 100-plus yard game.
I'm going to go with a group of players. I'm going to go with the entire offensive line.
The entire offensive line.
I can't get off the fact that this team sacked you 5 times in Austin last year. And now I get it. It's college football. Year to year, rosters are completely different. I get that. But that group has to be able to stop this amoeba front, like Rod talks about, where they put 8 people on the line of scrimmage. They're only sending 4, and you don't know which 4 are coming.
Yeah. And that's it. And so I get you. It's the offensive line. I'll say that goes into Jake Majors a little bit more.
Yeah.
He's kind of the veteran that needs to be helping lead, but you can put it on whoever you want to put on there, who needs to be the guy. But we'll go with that. That's the poll question today. Who is the most important player for Texas versus Baylor? Send that in. 512-337-3776 is the text line. 512-337-3776. We come back. We're going to talk some NFL. We'll get some previews and look at some of these games, get our lines ready, get our betting ready for this NFL Sunday. We will also get back into your text. And then coming up in the second hour, we will get into more college football. Big game day happening on Saturday. There's some big games in the NFL, big games, and I've been looking forward to it, man.
This weekend's going to fly by.
This is, and then we got good baseball games on, too. Important baseball. Oh, it's just a fun weekend. Text, keep sending them in. 512-337-3776. Who is the most important player for Texas versus Baylor this week? Send that in. We'll be right back here on the Sports Complex. Myself, Patrick Davis, my man, Jake Standard. We'll be right back on the Sports Complex on the Horn 1019 AM 1260, the Horn app, and at hornfm.com. Back on the Sports Complex on a Friday afternoon. Jamming some Madam Radar on a 512 Friday. Madam Radar doing a Sunday brunch show. If you want to check it out, it's a nice early show. Get out early, get a couple drinks in before the Cowboys game.
How does a Sunday brunch show usually go?
It's at the Far Out Lounge.
Oh,
So it's an
okay.
outdoor venue. It's a nice little place. You go out there. They have some food out there. They have some drinks.
Yeah.
It's not like a brunch. Like it's not like you're drinking mimosas. You can drink a beer on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday, early afternoon, and
Hey, it's a slightly aggressive choice on a Sunday morning, but I'm into it.
no, it's not morning. I think they play at like 11:30 noon.
Oh, okay.
So you do that, and then you can watch. Go back and watch the Cowboys at 3:25.
There you go.
And, have a nice day. So you can check out some Madam Radar on Sunday on a 512 Friday. We'd have someone ask earlier about some funky stuff to check out this weekend. I will tell you, Tomar and the FCs and Sugar Ray and Cold Sweater playing at Continental Club on Saturday night. That is going to be extremely funky. I love both those bands. And there's a new band called Graffiti Funk that is going to be playing Sunday night at Seaboys Heart and Soul. So it's a very cool project. That is Graffiti Funk with a PH in funk. It's just they try and make things very hard to find.
Well, they make it funky.
They make it funky, but it's hard. It's like no one can. I can't say this on the radio. Then I have to spell it when I say it on the radio. But yeah, Graffiti Funk. That'll be fun on a Sunday night at Seaboys
One more
Heart and Soul.
time. Who
So
is it?
after the Cowboys, so you can go watch Madam Radar early.
Okay.
Start drinking.
Yeah, get your
sober
aggressive
up during the
mimosas on.
Cowboys. Sober up.
No chance.
You're playing the Cardinals.
I know I'm going to be celebrating.
You're playing the Cardinals. Come on, man.
We're going to be up 40 at the half. I can't wait.
The other band, Sugar Ray and Cold Sweat, which is they do covers, but yeah, it's gonna be funky. It's gonna be a fun time. Sugar Ray and Cold Sweat are awesome. Let's get into some NFL picks here. Keep your text coming in 512-337-3776. Who is the most important player for Texas versus Baylor? Also, if you want to give final scores, your predictions, send those in. Anything else you want to hit up to talk about? We're out at 6:30, so get those texts in. We'll try to get as many as we can at the end of the hour, and at the top of the hour, we'll get to as many texts as we can. 512-337-3776. Keep sending them in. Love you guys when you get on that. When you get on the text line, it makes the show so much more fun when the texters are involved and I got my listeners with me. I love it. Let's start off. I'll start off with the easy one. And I mean there is something to it, but I'm going to start off with the Texans because we're going to start with the Texans. We'll end with the Cowboys
Okay.
Cowboys is easy too. But I was just saying the Texans. I want to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
I went back to being a Texans fan, and
I think you're going to like this one.
it's not gone well. It's not gone well so far. The injuries continue to mount up for the Texans. Now Derek Stingley this week, who's been playing pretty well at cornerback, is on the injured reserve for 4 weeks with a hamstring.
Another one?
With a hamstring injury, so he is now out. Jalen Petrie, I don't believe, will be back after having that bruised lung. So that secondary is starting to get pretty beat up out there. The O-line, of course, we know is very beat up, and I think week 5 is the earliest we're really going to see it really starts coming together. Laramie Tunsil's supposed to be back, which would be nice. They were playing 4 backup offensive linemen,
That's
2
a lot.
second stringers, 2 third stringers, and 1 first stringer, who's a guy they traded for. That was who was on that offensive line last week. But this is the thing with the Jaguars. This is what your hope is that the Texans historically have been good against the Jaguars, even when the Texans are bad.
Yeah, it's a division matchup.
Trevor Lawrence is 1-3 against him. And the Jaguars, that one is the one win that Jaguars have against the Texans since 2017.
There you go.
So there's a lot. So the Texans are beat up. CJ Stroud looked okay. He's 4th in the NFL in passing yards. He's no interceptions. They're not getting down, but the injury to Noah Brown opened it up, and Tank Dell looked really good in that game as well. We know Nico Collins is starting to step up as a wide receiver. They need to figure out Bobby Slowick at the offensive coordinator. Needs to figure out a way to run the ball. I get your offensive line is beat up, but you have to be able to run the ball with Dameon Pierce. Like that's supposed to be your bread and butter game plan, and they are just not getting anything out of that run game.
Yeah, no, you have to get some sort of production. You talked about it earlier this week about balance.
Yes.
You have to be able to do both sides. You have to be able to pass and run to be effective.
Yeah, and I mean, with the stats we had, the teams that have more rushing attempts than passing through 2 weeks are 16-1.
Bingo.
And teams that rushed more attempts than the other team are 26-6. And so that one was a Brandon Staley, which we'll get to, but Brandon Staley sucks as a coach. That's the only reason. Their head coach is terrible.
You're not voting for him for Coach of the Year?
I'm voting for him to get fired. I'm providing my vote in as a proud owner of the Chargers that I continue to call San Diego. I'm not an owner of the Chargers. Jaguars are favored by 8. How do you feel about this game, Jacob?
I got to tell you, I think you're gonna like this one. I like the Texans and the points on that. I don't like a big spread in a division game because, like you said, I mean, they're only 1-3 over the Texans.
Yeah, and I think too, once you get in that second half, if the Jaguars are even up, a little bit, they're gonna kind of relax that defense. They weren't like everybody kept saying that the Colts were playing a prevent defense against the Texans. They were not. It was not a prevent defense for the entire second half. It was the very end, but it wasn't. It was just the Texans were starting to figure it out. They weren't pass rushing as much.
Right.
And so C.J. Stroud was able to get some passes off, and it looked a little bit better. Go over Titans versus Browns. Interesting game, Titans versus Browns. Browns favored by 3.5, but this is the Chubb injury happened. The Titans are starting to look okay. This is, can Deshaun Watson turn the corner and lead this Browns team, or do they start going down? Again, if you're a Texans fan, go Titans, because we're not winning the division, and we need that pick, man.
Yeah.
The Texans have the Browns pick, so you're hoping that the Titans can take care of business. Titans pounded the ball last week. They weren't even getting huge gains on it. It wasn't like they were running, down their throats.
But that's what you have to do.
But they just kept running it.
Yeah.
So at the Browns, you bring in Kareem Hunt, but he hasn't played in a game.
I doubt he's going to get any kind of regular workload.
So
yeah.
what they're going to be able to do against this Titans team is Browns are favored by 3.5. They're at home. Can Deshaun Watson turn the season and get the Browns back on track, or is Browns start hitting the emergency, the panic button?
Can I give you a couple stats?
Yes, sir.
So the Browns have the 26th ranked passing offense in the NFL.
Yes.
No surprise. The Titans are tied for 3rd in rushing defense in the NFL. So Browns can't throw the ball, and you probably can't run against the Titans.
Yeah.
Give me the Titans money line. Win it outright.
All right. I like it. Yeah, I have the Titans at least covering in this one. It seems to me that the Browns don't have it right now.
Yeah.
They haven't got it figured out. Maybe they will. This Titans team Mike Vrabel is just a really good coach. I don't think he's a coach that, gets you over and wins you Super Bowls necessarily without the players. Maybe if he gets players, he could. But he's just a hard-nosed coach that's going to get the best out of his players. So I got the Titans covering that one too. Falcons at Lions, another really fun one. The Falcons are 2-0. Lions are 1-1. They didn't expect to be 1-1 after beating the Chiefs in Week 1. You say, we beat the Chiefs at home? Oh, of course. Yeah. We're going to, and they lose. The Falcons' pass defense, no one believes in it. They've done pretty well for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, second in the NFL.
Second in the NFL. No one believes in it. They still think that's kind of fluky, that they're there. They've only played Jordan Love and Bryce Young. Those are 2 quarterbacks they've played. So I get that you can say maybe it's quarterback and not necessarily the defense.
Right.
So now we get to see him against Jared Goff. Can this Falcons defense hold up and then use ball control, running the ball with Mr. Bijan Robinson?
Bingo. That's the answer right there. I'm rolling with Bijan until he proves to me that he's a human. Because so far, he looks like an alien that has just been planted into the NFL.
Yeah, he looks so good right now. And I was talking to somebody, a friend of mine, and he was like, well, Bijan's not getting the load share. I'm like, this is exactly the load share we thought he was going to get.
Yeah.
Like, we knew Algier was going to stay. We knew that Patterson was, we knew they had other guys because Arthur Smith wants to run the football. Bijan's being used, and he is doing a lot with it. If you gave him more carries, it would be dangerous because he may be putting up 200 all-purpose yards a game. Oh. He had 172 all-purpose yards last week, I think.
Man, that sky cam view that Fox put out of him running through the hole, those are professional athletes that he's making fall over onto the ground.
It's crazy. Another game that is interesting to me, another game that I'm looking forward to is Chargers and Vikings, both 0-2. This is a panic mode, or your season is okay, like you're back on track. And both teams seem to be trying to lose by just making bad decisions. The Chargers, we'll say Eckler's out for this game, so we know that Eckler's out. That's going to be a problem. However, the Chargers continue to not change up their defense whatsoever. Brandon Staley says, this is my defense, and I'm going for it, and that's why they lost to Miami. You're now going up against a Minnesota team who cannot run the football. Now you got Cam Akers. Cam Akers couldn't run the football in L.A. I don't know what's going to be different.
Is he going to have a huge workload this week?
I can't imagine. They just don't have a big enough O-line. There's not really – the O-line for Minnesota is not that great. So they're not able to run the ball. They're not able to impose their will. And so you just say Vikings are going to throw the ball over and over again. But that's kind of what Miami did, right?
Yeah.
And Miami made it work against him because the Chargers never figured out a way to stop it. They just kept sending guys out on islands.
Oh, man.
And they just kept getting beat. and you're going up against Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson now, who can beat you.
Yeah, if they go one-on-one with Justin Jefferson, it's going to be a long afternoon.
If they go one-on-one and they play man coverage for the entirety of this game, Brandon Staley should not be allowed to walk out at halftime. They should walk him out of the building. Security should arrest him for impersonating a head football coach. if he allows Kirk Cousins to do whatever he wants in this game, because Kirk Cousins is good enough, you play man coverage.
Yeah.
If they allow that is going to be nuts. I can't. And I think they will. I honestly think they will. I think the Chargers should win this game every day of the week with a reasonable head coach.
Yeah. So who takes over at head coach once Staley gets fired at halftime?
Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore. I have no problem putting Kellen Moore as the interim head coach of Chargers. The bigger question is who's going to run the defense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is. Do you think the Chargers figure it out, or the Vikings? The Vikings get it figured out here.
So only 4 teams since 1990 have made the playoffs after starting 0-3. All desperation is on the table for both teams. I'm taking the Chargers. Because the Vikings lead the league in turnovers.
Look, I like it. I'm just telling you, I think the Chargers play man coverage and don't figure out the way to do it, and I think Brandon Staley's an idiot. But if maybe you prove me wrong. Maybe you'll prove me wrong, Brandon. Go for it, Brandon.
This was his plan. It was a 3-week plan to get through week 3. It was
terrible. I'm running for the Chargers. I want the Chargers. I think this fight, the Minnesota experiment to get rid of Dalvin Cook and then not run the ball is idiotic. Yeah, I don't think they're going to keep Justin Jefferson because I think they were going to go full board of we're just going to throw the ball. And when it doesn't work, they're going to blame Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. And then they're going to kind of go back into mediocre and try and tank for a season and come back. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't want it to.
Oh, man, it was fun having the Vikings be relevant for a couple years, wasn't it?
It was fun. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Real quick, Steelers, Raiders 2.5-point favorites. This is a game of two teams that should be 0-2 probably. They're 1-1. The Bills, I had 183 rushing yards against the Raiders.
Oh, my goodness.
Matt Canada doesn't want to run the ball with Najee Harris.
No,
for whatever reason. I do not know. Does he run the ball against this Raiders team?
Not a chance.
Oh,
not a chance. These teams rank 30th and 31st overall in offense, by the way. This is going to be a dreadful, dreadful game.
Oh, come on, man.
Give me the team with more grit, though. I'll take the Steelers' money line, win it outright.
I like it. And finally, Cowboys versus Cardinals, 12.5-point line. It's the Mike McCarthy game. Trayvon Diggs is out. Can Mike McCarthy just not screw it up again and go out there? Can he put up some points? I want to see Mike McCarthy control the clock and put up real points. That's what I want to see. I think the defense will still be okay, but you lose one of your big turnover guys. You lose a guy that is going to help out in that secondary. Arizona's been okay this season. I don't really think there's any problem of Cowboys winning, but I want to see Mike McCarthy because I think Mike McCarthy is needed to cover the spread.
Yeah, no doubt. And give me the alternate spread of like minus 21 or 28. I think the Cowboys are going to win this game by 30.
Woo! Love it. Send us on the text line what you got for the Cowboys game, for the Texans, or any other NFL stuff. We're going to start reading your text when we come back. 512-337-3776. And, of course, the poll of the day, who is the most important player for Texas against Baylor this week? We'll get to all of that. Start reading your text. Read as many as we can before we got to take a break at the top of the hour. Then we'll read some more, and then we'll get into some more college football talk right here on the Sports Complex on the Horn 1019 AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Back on Sports Complex on a Friday afternoon, a 5-1-2 Friday. There, it's Big Bill. They're playing Saturday at Valhalla. If you want to go check them out after a good Texas win, some good shows happen around town on a Saturday night. I know you guys, Ty and Jacob, all the guys are going to be at Nickelback probably.
Hey, I like Nickelback.
I don't dislike Nickelback.
Do we have tickets?
I don't think we have any tickets to Nickelback.
Okay.
You know, they've been sold out probably from day one.
Yeah, no doubt they're sold out. That's why I was wanting to know if we had a couple. How dare you?
It's just so easy. Do people pick on Nickelback? I don't
understand it.
I understand it, but I don't. I'm also not somebody who's fully on board with the full-on Nickelback hate. Let us know your Nickelback hate on the text line. 512-337-3776 is the text line. 512-337-3776. We asked you to text us in about whatever you want to talk about, but also our poll of the day is who is the most important player for Texas versus Baylor. Also, what your predictions are. I'd love to see some predictions. I want to see some wild, crazy predictions. I always like it when I see the fans really drinking the Kool-Aid on a Friday afternoon. I like the Kool-Aid drinking on a Friday afternoon.
How wild do you want them to get today? Are we talking 50?
No, honestly, it just a solid 35-point win I feel is pretty solid in the Big 12.
60?
60-point win?
70?
70? Let's go for it. I bet we could break a hundo in this game. Let's see where some of our players. Jonathan Brooks is up there. Jonathan Brooks is good. CJ Baxter is going to be back this week, though, so we'll see how the load gets shared between the two guys. We know Jonathan Brooks carried him through the Alabama game. He carried him through the Wyoming game, so maybe he's earned a little bit more respect. He is the elder of the two. He is a redshirt sophomore, so we all assumed he was going to be the guy, but I don't know if Sark had the full trust in him. And if you don't have the full trust, and if it's an even competition, you give the edge to the younger guy because he's going to be there for longer.
And I don't think it's a slight if those workloads are somewhat similar. I think ideally that's what you want for the full season, right? Is durability.
Yeah. No, you want durability in there. And I agree. I think the bigger part that everybody wonders about is Sark is known for having a 1,000-yard rusher every season.
Oh.
And who is it going to be? Is it C.J. Baxter, Jordan, or Jonathan Brooks? Jonathan Brooks is closer right now. So he's had two big games.
So if they don't have a 1,000-yard rusher, but they have two backs that go for 750, is that a win still?
If they win double-digit games and win the Big 12, it is a win. Could care less about stats. They're nice. I'm sure they very much help in recruiting. But I think if you win, it will help your recruiting just as much as having the stats. Then you can worry about having the stats. But, yeah, losing a game because you got to get those stats in seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, I get that.
Let's go over and see to answer your poll. Christian Whittington, I'm guessing you're going Jordan Whittington on there. Will be a players come up big and your score is Texas 38, Baylor 17. Look, I'm on the train. I don't think Jordan Whittington is ever going to get a lot of catches in this Texas team anymore. I think he'll get 3 to 5, but I don't think we're ever going to see him get more than 5 receptions in a game.
Yeah, 5 feels like pushing it even.
And 5 feels like pushing it. But I think once you point you're throwing at Whittington more, you may see a Jonte Cook or somebody get in that place. Sark loves Jordan Whittington. But he loves all the things he can do. And again, if you're saying, hey, I need someone to kind of on a bump route, well, who do I trust? Trust Jordan Whittington. Yeah. I need someone to block downfield on a screen. Who do I trust? Jordan Whittington.
Or someone to sit down in a zone. Like, don't follow that route all the way out. Like, Jordan Whittington is going to sit down in that zone because his football IQ is off the charts compared to these other guys.
And so there's just a lot of what you trust Jordan Whittington to do. You may trust him more than anybody else on the team to do those things.
Yeah.
But the other guys, you say, I just need someone to catch a ball and go downfield. Then that may, you can trust that. All right.
I like this one. The most important person is the bus driver to make sure the team shows up. If that happens, we win.
I like the confidence, but you got to have more than one bus driver. Because if you only have one bus driver, there's multiple. And then the band's not there. It's going to be bad. We need multiple bus drivers to be MVPs in this game.
Can we both sit here and my shoulder pads? Yeah, thanks.
Running back room, leave no question. Yeah, I think the running back room is where people are starting to look at it off at the beginning to see if Texas can run the ball, they should be fine. Now that goes into, can Sark call the plays correctly to run the ball, and is he okay with relying on the run, and how long do you do that before you try and get your passing game active? Yeah. You have to try and move the passing game. You don't want to give up on it completely because you're going to need it against Kansas. You're going to need it against Oklahoma.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think the running back room is where we have the most to learn. So I see why people are interested in it. That one's the room that feels like it has the biggest question mark.
Yeah. Let's go with Quinn Ewers. No quarterback, no win. like Baylor using a backup quarterback. No QB, no win. That's what he says. No QB, no win. I read that to No Woman, No Cry when I saw that the first time. Don't know why. Just the way my brain works. Let's get in one more, and then we are going to get to the break, and we'll come back at the top of the hour. We're going to say definitely O-line. Second thought, Ewers. No turnovers, a guaranteed win. Look, both are good answers. I think Quinn Ewers is going to, if you're going to say the O-line, then Quinn Ewers is there. He needs to be the one also helping to get this O-line in the right position, picking up the protections, figuring out the guys, taking the right guesses, being the leader on the team, where the O-line may say, we think these three guys are coming, and Quinn goes, no. That guy's about to kill me.
Yeah, this guy
I can
off the
see
edge
it in
over
his
here.
eyes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, Quinn, you're good with that one. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have more of your texts on the top of the hour. We'll get into more college football games, tell you where you can come out and hang out with me and Aaron tomorrow to get ready for the pregame, how you can listen here on the station. All that coming up in the 6 o'clock hour here on The Horn, 1019 AM 1260, The Horn app, and hornfm.com. Hour 2 here on the Sports Complex on a Friday afternoon. We are out early for Rangers. It's a big series against the Mariners coming up, so we'll be out a little bit early. We got a few more minutes with you here, so we're going to try and get some more of your texts. Get to some more college football. Get to all that fun stuff. Remember, you can join the conversation. 512-337-3776. You can follow me on Twitter or X or whatever you call it, and Instagram at It's Patrick Davis. Jacob Standard at
Jacob Standard. Nice and easy.
Nice and easy. And you can come out and hang out with us tomorrow at Doc's Backyard in Sunset Valley. Information at hornfm.com. We'll be doing the pregame show. As for everybody asking on the text line, I have no new information as to any alleged babies. No, I have no new information. Maybe we'll have some tomorrow. But I've not been told anything yet. So I cannot answer any of your questions on the text line. Sorry, guys. I'm not withholding anything. I have not been told anything. We will get to some of your texts. So if you have any conversations or you want to join the poll and answer who is the biggest player, who will be the biggest player for the Texans, most important player for the Texans tomorrow versus Baylor, you can hit us up there, 512-337-3776, or hit us up with your prediction of the score. Any other scores you have predictions for, anything else, why not send it in on the text line? Let's get to some more text, though. We do have Jay Witt and Jay Sanders, crossing routes, drag, and short passes needed for this game. Would like to see JT Sanders a little bit more involved. JT Sanders there as well, 42-10. I'd like to see JT Sanders get a little bit more involved in this game. I don't feel he was involved enough. I know Sark likes to set it up by kind of going outside to A.D. Mitchell, going a little bit further out to Xavier Worthy, kind of getting the wide receivers more involved, and then getting the JT Sanders later in the game. That's kind of been his MO for a while. And then in the Wyoming game, they just never got to that part.
Right.
So he wasn't involved as much, and Wyoming really tried to take him away as well.
Yeah.
So, but I would love to see if JT Sanders get a little bit more involved and get him to have a big game. That would be nice for Texas on this one. 41-18, big day for Brooks. I like it. We're getting there. We're starting to pull away on those, covering the spread.
Man,
see,
that Kool-Aid is strong. Hey, I'm not mad at it. I'm here for it. I think they need it, but I just not completely convinced it's going to be that big of a game yet.
Most important group, not player, is the O-line, the run game. They can not open up against Aranda's defense. They can or cannot open up against. That's the thing. Are you going to be able to run the ball? I think you've been able to run against this defense. Other teams have shown that it's possible to do. I think that also every team is kind of really trying to stop the passing game. They know Sark wants to go to it, so they kind of load up on that end. So you try and pass rush, you try and play good in the secondary, and you maybe allow the running game to go because they knew Bijan and Roschon are gone. Now, once we get into the Big 12, they might start to figure out that the running game is still pretty strong for Texas. You do not have the freak athlete that is Bijan Robinson and the workhorse that is Roschon. Jonathan Brooks and C.J. Baxter look pretty good too.
Yeah, running game's good enough that you can't just leave it alone. You know, Texas isn't going to be one-dimensional.
Yes. We still have a cobbler guy. This is from a week ago that we said pie versus cake.
Oh, is this your camping?
And he's a cobbler guy. It's just not true. It's just cobbler. Look, cobbler isn't the same as pies. I don't need either one of them. I don't need you to try and stick fruits in my sweets. Stick to straight sugar, folks. I just want to feel bad about myself when I eat my desserts.
I'm a big
and
cobbler
I realized
guy.
this. By the way, I think one of the things about cake versus pie is why people are making the wrong decision in pie.
Yes, please enlighten me.
People think that cake is for kids. And they say it's a childish thing because it's birthday cakes and they're cakes. You eat a lot of cakes when you're a kid. And when you get older, pie is just kind of a more adult thing. Being an adult sucks. Eat more cake.
That I'm going to debunk that right here. What about a wedding cake?
No, I get there's a wedding cake, but that's a special thing. And you get one slice of that, and hopefully not many because weddings are not fun either.
I thought cakes were reserved for special moments anyway.
They are.
Is this
but
just
that's what I'm
like
saying. But no, I think when you're kids, you go to a bunch of birthday parties. You got a bunch of friends. You eat more cake. You ate more cake as a kid. Icing seems more cake. You decorate a cake. You don't decorate a pie.
Well, you also
It's more childish thing. I like it.
if you're like me, you lose your sweet tooth as you get older. Like I can't do the icing on cake anymore. I'm a pie. Like definitely need pies.
That's terrible.
Why?
I mean, come on.
What?
You need to add a little fun into your life, Jacob.
Dude, nice piece of pie with some vanilla ice cream on top. Oh man.
No. See, you're getting ice cream. You do like the sweets.
Oh.
You just want to add terrible. Yeah. No. You want to make cakes. Cakes. Your wife makes cakes all the time. Perfect. That's why you marry them. They make cakes, not pies. Good people. Let's get to some college football scores. You can say the text line 42-10. Also on the text line, Quinn Ewers. Yeah, Quinn Ewers seems to be like that's the easy pick, but it's probably the right pick. Quinn Ewers comes out and plays well and gets back in. I know we had someone yesterday talking about his Heisman numbers. He's not in. If you in the season now, he's not going to New York. His Heisman numbers have not been there. Clearly, he's 3-0, which is great. That's a good part to get to the Heisman. But, yeah, he will need to step it up as the season goes, and he's going to need to do it against some of these defenses that are game plan set up just to go against him.
You think his remaining schedule is going to hurt the odds of that because of how the Big 12 looks now?
But until we see are you saying of the playing ranked teams?
Yeah, because the Big 12 has fallen off so much.
I think the Big 12 will I think they can fight back into it. Like one of the games on here, I think some of these teams are going to get knocked themselves out, and the Big 12 may come back into it a little bit.
Okay.
The Pac-12 has way too many ranked teams because they played all power. They played all like puffy schedules.
Yeah.
So all these like bad Pac-12 teams are ranked right now because they just didn't play anybody.
Well, then that sets up well for someone like Caleb Williams, right?
Yes.
I mean,
so he'll have a good beginning of the season. I think some of those teams may be exposed before later in the season. Let's go through these pretty quick. Florida State at Clemson is a big game. Number 4, Florida State at Clemson. Is this the death of Dabo Swinney? Is this the end of Dabo Swinney? Florida State's only a 2-point favorite. It's a number 4 team versus an unranked team. They're a 2-point favorite. To me, this is the Cade Klubnik game. Cade Klubnik goes out there and make plays. You can throw on Florida State. You can make plays. He can do that. If he makes plays, Clemson can win this game.
Yeah.
And I think Florida State may have too many skill players because they pay their players because they use the transfer portal like adults in in college football in 2023. Dabo doesn't want to do it. I'm saying I think that Clemson has a shot in this. I think Florida State gets through it because they just have too many, and it relies too much on Cade Klubnik. But if Clemson wants any shot to win, it is Cade Klubnik, right?
Yeah, I'm going Clemson straight up, though. You know how much I like trends and history of series. The home team has won 15 of the last 20 matchups in this game. Florida State hasn't lost since they lost to Clemson last season. Give me Clemson to win it outright.
There you go. I like it. Oklahoma is a 14-point favorite on Cincinnati. This is the opening for Big 12 play for Oklahoma. Cincinnati's had over 200 yards on the ground in each of their first 3 games. They are running the ball like crazy. You're going to try and go up against that Venables defense. Can Cincinnati keep it in the number? I think Oklahoma wins. It's not really that much of a question. The number is 2 touchdowns. Can Cincinnati get it within 2 touchdowns, control the ball enough, and maybe take a little luster off this Oklahoma team that everybody thinks is blowing everybody out?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think Oklahoma covers it. I mean, their first 3 games, Arkansas State 73-0, SMU 28-11, Tulsa 66-17. I mean,
it is. And by the way, the SMU game I watched, it was not that. It was a much closer game than that score lets on. But I think that'll be this too. I think the game won't be a massive blowout. Oklahoma will get some scores though. By the fourth quarter, they'll just be able to put up a couple big shots on this Cincinnati defense.
Oh, regardless, this Sooners team can score some points.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Number 19, Colorado at number 10, Oregon. This is a big game. So we had number 4 versus unranked. Number 4 is a 2-point favorite. We have number 10 versus number 19. Number 10 is a 21-point favorite.
That's ridiculous.
Vegas not buying the hype. And you know that Deion's going to take that personal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, he's already working up whatever angle he needs to take to create that extra bit of motivation.
Yeah, that is he's going Colorado, and this is one of the stats that you could look out for in this game. Colorado, one of the things they've relied on in their first 3 weeks is turnovers. They're pretty high. They're one of the top teams in the country with 10 takeaways in the first 3 weeks. Oregon has not given the ball away yet this season.
And you just lost your best defender.
And one of your best offensive players. Same
That's
guy.
Right. Gotta get used to that.
Travis Hunter is not out. He's playing both ways. Travis Hunter is out. I think, basically Colorado doesn't have much of a run game anyway. So it is all going on Sanders now to throw the ball at a high level, and he lost one of his favorite targets in Travis Hunter.
The favorite target.
And you throw in Oregon, who's just going to be able to put up points, and I don't know if this Colorado defense can stop them from putting up points over and over again without Travis Hunter.
Are you going to do it?
Take Oregon in the points? I would not take Oregon in the points. I would take Colorado to keep it within the points.
That's a massive spread.
21 points is a lot.
I
have to take Colorado to be within 20. In conference play, I think Oregon wins outright. But, yeah, I have to take Colorado to keep it within, right?
Yeah. Shedeur Sanders can score the football. They're not going to lose by
I'm
more
not
than 21
going to disrespect
points.
Coach Prime that bad.
No, absolutely not.
No, because he'll show up here.
You're going to end up on the
the
wall.
sports complex hosted by one of his kids is going to be happening next week.
And you'll be playing on repeat in their locker room.
Not going to say that. I think Oregon does win, but yeah, I think Colorado is good enough to keep it within the number. It's a huge number. Let's go. We'll skip. We can go. We'll just go real quick. 22 UCLA versus 11 Utah. Again, that's 2 Pac-12 teams in Colorado and Oregon. That's 2 ranked teams. That's UCLA, Utah. 2 Pac-12 teams, both ranked. There's another one in here. There's way too many Pac-12 teams that are ranked in this right now. UCLA will drop out. Colorado will probably drop back out eventually, but they'll be right on that cusp all season long. Especially because they have USC coming up too. They're going to want to keep them ranked. But UCLA will probably drop out. This is a Cam Rising. We still don't know if he's coming back. He's not played yet this season. If he does, I don't think this is even close. I think Utah can come away. And thus, there's massive rust. He's not back. But Cam Rising plays at all. Defense is the key in this game.
Not so fast.
Not so fast.
Not
you have
so
UCLA.
fast. I have UCLA +6. I don't know if they're going to win, but I will take them with the +6 cushion. Dante Moore.
With Cam Rising playing.
Yes.
Woo.
Dude, Dante Moore, 19.22 yards per completion. 7 touchdowns through 3 games.
I
They'll
just
be
think
able to keep it close.
I think he's going to make a mistake. I think he will have a turnover in that game that is going to put it out of reach.
Okay.
That's how I feel the
All
game
right.
is. But that's me. That's just me. Ole Miss at Alabama. This one is huge for Texas because if Alabama loses and they have now 2-2 and the dynasty is over and Nick Saban, what a waste of a space coach. He should have been fired years ago.
Yeah.
And the whole program's done and SEC's terrible now. So all this happens if Alabama loses to Ole Miss. I know that's a bit of an overstatement.
Well, then the narrative switches to
I just
Texas
know
can
that
only beat bad teams.
And that thing is, well, of course they did. They beat them, and you get back to that to whatever 2016, the Notre Dame game.
Yeah,
and you have that season where we were all so happy, and then it turned out we both sucked.
Oh,
and I don't think we're that bad. I don't think we're that bad at all. I don't think Alabama's that bad either. So it's not the same. It's not a 1-for-1 at all. Those things, but it reminds you of how happy you were in the moment to a couple weeks later being like, okay, temper expectations.
Yeah.
I do think Alabama can come. I think Ole Miss is going to come hard at them. This is the thing. They're going to come at Milroe. I don't know if they can keep him in front of him. If they go back to Milroe, last week was kind of a misnomer because they put in 2 trash quarterbacks that Tommy Rees wanted to play. I think if you kind of learn from the Texas game, you have more design runs for Milroe. You really use his legs against this Ole Miss team, they will overcommit. He'll be able to get them going, and the defense will be able to slow down Ole Miss. I think Alabama can win this.
Yeah, give me Alabama to cover. Get right game. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Nick Saban is going to stop the bleeding.
Yeah. Oregon State at Washington State. The Pac-2. The Pac-2 game, guys.
The Pac-2.
These are the only 2 teams left in the Pac-12. They're the ones. They are both ranked, though, because they played nobody.
You think they made a pact to stay?
Yeah, they're staying. They're just playing each other every game next year.
Yeah.
Oregon State, Washington State. Oregon State's favored by 3. DJ, want to go over his name? The quarterback for Oregon State.
Is it?
Or Washington State? Sorry.
It's not.
It's Wiga. It's like Wigalele or something like that. The guy who was
Uiagalelei?
Yeah. Yes. There we go.
Nailed it.
He is supposed to be. He has just never really progressed at level. He's supposed to. He hasn't looked sharp. Cameron Ward has. I think Oregon State can win this game.
Yeah, me too.
Iowa versus Penn State. Penn State is a 14.5-point favorite. Can Iowa State control the clock enough, slow it down, play good defense, and just control the clock? I don't think they win this game, but you can keep it within the number if you control the clock.
You're talking about Iowa?
Iowa can.
Yeah.
They just have to weather the early storm, right?
Yeah.
This is a game of can you in the first half just slow down Penn State enough that they have to kind of be boring, and then you don't get blown out, and you're still in the game, and you know anything can happen.
Yeah, I see that, but give me Penn State to cover that number.
You think cover a 14.5?
Yeah,
with the hook on it.
Yeah, Penn State at home. Give me them to cover that number against Iowa, who's having a hard time. They celebrated scoring 25 points. Remember that?
They did, and they had a deep fake. They had a deep fake of the coach, which was great.
That was the best.
Why don't y'all get a step ladder?
Oh, man.
That's a solid one. I wish it wasn't a deep fake.
Oh, they got me.
They got me too. Someone sent it to me. And
that was my guy for a little bit. I was like, oh my goodness, that guy's awesome.
We were going to send that to Ian Rob B for who said that.
Yeah, right.
Who said that? A funny guy on a computer.
Yeah.
Who said
that? TikTok said it. I don't know.
AI said that. And then we'll get to, before we give our final predictions for Texas and Baylor. This is probably the biggest game of the week. I mean, we know Texas Baylor, biggest game of the week. We're Texas fans. Got to be it.
Yeah.
Ohio State, number 6 Ohio State, at number 9 Notre Dame. This is a balance of power. Is Notre Dame, is Marcus Freeman, getting back on the right track? Is Notre Dame going to be building in the right way? Is Ryan Day and Ohio State, they've lost to Michigan. Is Michigan taking over the power in that relationship? Is Ohio State going to have problems? Kyle McCord is the guy, but no one's really too thrilled about it. You hear Ohio State people talking about Kyle McCord, they're like, I think he's going to do pretty good. There's a lot of inflection.
What else do they say?
There's a lot of inflection that I don't know if people are thrilled about Kyle McCord. Sam Hartman has to have time to shine in this game. This is a Sam Hartman game.
Yeah.
If he comes out for Notre Dame and puts up points against an Ohio State defense and gets it going, Notre Dame is back until he leaves at the end of the season. And then they got to find a quarterback again. What do you got for Ohio State, Notre Dame?
I got Ohio State to cover. I still don't. I think it'll be close, but I think 3 points. I think Ohio State will cover that. I think they'll win by about 7.
Yeah. I look. I'm going to go Notre Dame in this game. I think Sam Hartman.
I like it.
Plays. It's against all good judgment. It's against all good judgment. But
Those
I think
are the best ones.
Kyle McCord is going to play as well as Justin Fields has played for the Bears this season.
Oh no. Oh no.
Sam Hartman's going to come out of this one. Final prediction: Texas versus Baylor. Final prediction.
I'm going 42-10 Texas.
42-10 Texas though.
Yes.
42-10 Texas.
No, yes. I am nervous. I think, like we've been talking about all show, they have to start quick. Otherwise, there's no chance. But I think they will, and I think they get to that 42-10 number like I've seen a couple texters saying. Give me Texas cover.
I'll tell you what. I will tell you my pick tomorrow. Pre-game show. We'll be at Doc's backyard. Aaron Hogan, myself.
What a tease.
4 to 6 p.m. Come down and say hey to us. All the info at hornfm.com. We'll be on the airwaves as well. 4 to 6 p.m. right before the Rangers game.
Yes, we will.
We'll be on the airwaves. We'll be on. You can come out and say hey. Get ready for the game. We'll also be watching a bunch of these great games that the Colorado game will be on. The Alabama game will be on.
That's going to be such a good game, that Colorado-Oregon game.
Some good stuff's going to be happening. So come on out and join us tomorrow. Thank you to my man, Jacob Standard. You can follow me as well at It's Patrick Davis. We'll be back on Monday to break it all down for you. Until then, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean. We'll see you right back here Monday afternoon on the Sports Complex on the Horn.